Well, 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 who's relentless? Now, it's all we heard about Vegas. Oh, they're so relentless, they're overwhelming. Oh, they come at you in waves. The Canucks couldn't keep up, they're intimidated, they're so big, they're so strong. But we did see in that first game that although Vegas does have an incredible amount of depth in their forward lineups and a strong defense and a great goalie, they were giving the Canucks a lot more space, and it was only a matter of time before the Canucks took advantage of that space. And this was a game where Pettersson stepped up and had a statement game. And I talked about how in St. Louis, it was a real pivotal moment when they were down and JT Miller took a puck and willed it into the net. And when you have JT Miller making statements like that, when you have Horvat being the captain that he is, and now you have Pettersson also stepping up and completely taking over a game. This is a promising team. That's exciting to watch. That's inspiring. The Canucks came out flying. Toffoli's in the lineup. The Canucks did their best to try to hide it. And man, did he ever... Could you have more of an immediate impact? They showed the replay, something like his first 9 seconds of action, he scores. But it was actually all Pettersson. He went past 2 Vegas Knights, one in the neutral zone. One he just went sort of straight through, kind of went in on the boards, wasn't afraid of a big body check or anything, went past him, went around the net so fast, all eyes were on him. The defenseman that's supposed to be covering Toffoli had to look and see what Pettersson was doing. Pettersson passed so fast on a sharp angle, just rifling that pass through the crease, through everybody, onto Toffoli's stick. Toffoli looked shocked that he had it. He had so much time and so much empty net. It was amazing. Later on, you see the chemistry that Toffoli and Pettersson have. Toffoli with this gorgeous breakaway pass from the Canucks zone to Elias. No goal there. Great defensive play by Vegas, but you knew that things were brewing. The Canucks were flying and that Toffoli was going to make a lot more of a difference than just that opening goal. I was critical of the chemistry that Pearson and Pettersson have. I thought, although I love Pearson for his defensive awareness, for his shot, for his leadership, I did prefer him with Horvat before. I just found that the speed wasn't really matching up with Pettersson, but it seems like when you have Pearson and Toffoli together and Pettersson as the glue in between them, it's obviously working. But it's nice to know that you have these options and you can shuffle these guys all around. We know that Pearson works well with Horvat. We know that Miller and Horvat can be a shutdown as well as a scoring line. We know that Miller works with Pettersson. My favorite line of Pettersson, Miller, and Virtanen is an option they can go to whenever they're getting keyed on, whenever they need to make a change, they can. The Canucks came out in this game flying around like it was the last game they're ever going to play, but they were still poised. They weren't too reckless, but they weren't too tight. Vegas looks like they thought the series was going to be easy after game 1. I mean, they were still in the game when they realized they got scored on and had to come back, but for that first period, it looks like they just were not mentally at the same level as the Canucks. Because of all this momentum, the Canucks came out with 2 power plays early. That's a huge deal. I mean, the biggest thing is momentum, and that's what refs are going to call. When you're the team that's moving on the puck the whole time, and you're causing that momentum, and you're rushing past somebody, if the defenseman or forward is not moving the right way against the puck, if they're going against the grain, they're going to reach a stick out. It's really easy to draw those calls. Of course, the story in Game 1 was that Reeves was yapping, the whole Vegas bench was yapping. Thomas Durant's one of the few guys in the bubble watching the game and able to hear the stuff, is doing such a fantastic job on Twitter, letting us know what all these players are saying, the stuff that we are not hearing in the TV broadcast, and it makes a big difference. It may seem silly, like, oh, they're just heckling, but there is that momentum shift, and hockey and sports, they're such a mental thing as well. It's such a game of inches and millimeters. I mean, these guys are all skilled, but what it can come down to is who is feeling it that night and who is building that momentum, especially when you have Vegas and the Canucks and it's such a fast flowing back and forth. That momentum can pile up really quickly. Roussel looked a lot more disciplined. The first thing I noticed about him in the game was that he ran in, finished a big check. We saw that he was at the bench, and Reeves came by and gave him a little dirty trip, and Roussel just went down to his knees, tried to sell it probably, got up, went right to the bench. He had all of that temptation. Reeves, the ref there, his teammates, the whole Vegas Knights, and he just got up and he went to his bench. I was so proud of the guy. On the Canucks power play, again, the Knights are watching Pettersson. He's cycling around. Now we've got Toffoli behind the net. Seems like he is so good down there. The thing is, he doesn't get too cutesy with it. He's not rotating around. He gets the puck. The second he sees that he has an opening pass to Horvat in the slot, he makes it. Horvat fires. It's simple, but when you look at it, it's effective. When you give somebody like Horvat an open shot just a few feet out from the goalie, that's really all you need. And once again, it was all Pettersson. You had 3 different nights. I mean, they're all watching him, but 3 of them were moving their body language towards Pettersson as he's working that puck away. That was their game plan in the power play last game. They kept it up, but now he's passing down low to Toffoli, and before they can even realize what Toffoli's going to do with it, he's got it on Horvat's stick, and it's in. That's Pettersson operating at a super high level, processing the game really fast, and Toffoli right along there with him. Another thing I loved about this game is that the Canucks forwards were coming back. When the puck was in their zone, the forwards weren't just sitting up there by the blue line waiting for some pass that was going to get intercepted by the extremely aggressive Vegas forecheck. All the Canucks forwards were coming back. They were resetting. They were making sure they had the puck before they moved out, and then they were using their skill, their flow, their speed to move up. When you got Hughes, Pettersson, all the skill on this Canucks lineup, they can do that, and it's so effective. I mean, you see so oftentimes, I'm sure it's a completely different story when you're on the ice, but when, teams are getting pressured and they have the puck in their D zone, and what do? Do they reset? Do they gain control and move forward? Do they reset, gain control, try to get a line change and move forward? I know that's often not possible, and that's the whole point of forechecking, and that's why we love this game, is this part seems so like there's an easy thing to do, but it's just not when the game moves that fast. But when you just dump it out, what are you doing? You're giving the puck to the other team. And this is something we see teams who have a lead can be really guilty of. When you just chip the puck out and you give it to the other team and you let them make rush after rush after rush, they're just continuing to gain momentum and you're never going to score. Like, you have to have, unless you have a killer forecheck and you're dumping that puck in and your forwards have speed when they're going in to get it, you're just giving it away. And I mean, the game is about possession. You got to have it. And I loved that the Canucks were coming back and taking that D-zone possession seriously. Without it, you're not going to win. And on the other end, you could see Vegas was getting flustered because for the first time in the series, they started throwing away the possession. They were getting overwhelmed by the Canucks, and Virtanen and Horvat and Miller and Toffoli and Pearson, Pettersson, and the Canucks' great bottom 6 were pressuring them so much that Vegas is just chipping it out, getting a line change, and conceding that point in the game. Of course, in the second period, Vegas comes out a lot more engaged. They had a lot more success. They're out shooting the Canucks. The Canucks were fighting. It was a little bit back and forth. I'd say Vegas won the majority of the puck battles and puck control in that period, but the Canucks were not slouches at all. We saw that crazy lob pass from the Vegas zone that walk corrals. I mean, how can you even tell if those things are offside or not? I don't know. It seems a little bit of a gray area. And he passes back to Tuck, who's just racing through. How can a guy that big be that fast and still look like a beaver? It's amazing. But throughout that second period, when Vegas was playing their best, Markstrom was the calmest person on the Canucks. And when things were getting a little bit dicey in their D zone, he made big save after big save, calmed everything down, gave them a rest, and reset them. He's so valuable to the team. You have Markstrom on one end calming things down, and you have Pettersson on the other looking so dangerous. Every time he gets the puck now in the game, the Vegas Knights are just backing off, looking all around. They're just expecting something crazy to happen. It reminds me when the Canucks are facing Chicago and Patrick Kane was at the top of his game, and every time he had the puck, your heart would stop. And with the game at 2-1 and Vegas playing their best, Pettersson gets the puck from Edler in the slot. Oh, that deke, that patience to do all that in tight, in just seconds, milliseconds, and tuck it in past the pad. That's special. Now the Canucks are up 3-1, right near the end of the second period. That's a real back-breaking goal. You could feel Vegas was rising up, and when a goal like that goes in, it's such a morale killer for the opposition. It's like a 2-1 game split in a playoff series. Do you want to go up 3-1, or do you want the opposition to win a game tied at 2-2 and now have the momentum moving forward? And speaking of momentum killers, if Vegas went into that intermission before the third period, buckled down and thought they were going to come out and get a couple goals and tie this thing up, in just 18 seconds, the Horvat line is pressuring. Besser with a great stick to corral a puck over to Bo in the slot. Super quick hands. He pops it in for a quick opening goal and just totally kills any chance Vegas has of coming back in this game. And just to keep the foot on the gas, Miller has this amazing play where he charges in with the puck, he shoots, and he body checks the defender. I love his will. It causes this big confrontation. Pacioretty comes in, tries to be the hero, but he's late, and he ends up sort of clotheslining Miller, and he gets a penalty. If the game wasn't over at the Horvat goal, it's over now. What a game. I think we've seen that this is going to be one heck of a series. Both teams like to play fast, loose, they can hit. They both have great goaltenders. Will we see Marc-Andre Fleury get a chance? Robin Lehner had a great season with the Islanders, but they played that Barry Trotz stifling, defensively responsible style. And if you've got a great defensive system like that, you can get away with having not an elite goalie. Now, Markstrom is the type that is obviously playing in front of not the best defense in the league. The Canucks could definitely use some improvement, especially on just like pure defensive defensemen. And I think that if you look up and down the Vegas Knights lineup, their strength is the size and speed and scoring ability on all of their lines. Their defense is great, but again, they're similar to the Canucks where they have more puck movers than, big heavy guys taking care of business in front of the net. Lehner is just not as insulated as he was with the Islanders, so who knows? We might see Fleury come in. He's been their guy ever since the inception of the franchise, but he couldn't get it done in the Stanley Cup Finals, and they obviously thought they needed a 1A or 1B goaltender in Lehner. But as Jason Bruff tweeted, it's nice to see the goaltending controversy on the other side. The really interesting thing about having the playoffs in the bubble is that teams are well rested from the regular season. They're mostly not injured, and there's no travel. So it's a very even contest. Maybe that's why we're seeing the Canucks do so well. They've definitely dealt with the rigors of a regular season, having to fly all over the league, losing players to injury, and the tough travel of a playoff series when you live on the west coast of Canada. In the last 10 years, look at the teams that have had a lot of success winning Stanley Cups. Washington, Pittsburgh, Chicago, Boston. These teams are not doing a lot of travel. What a game. Looks like it's going to be a hell of a series. Pettersson stepping up. What's going to happen next? Let's see how Vegas retaliates and how the Canucks can keep pushing. See you next game.